Hello, welcome to Newscentre. With me, Parikshit Luthra. All major software companies have reported their second quarter earnings, and apart from the revenue and margin guidance, what stood out was the attrition and hiring numbers. The top IT players, Infosys, TCS and Wipro, continue to report over 20% attrition as compared to the pre-COVID level of 12 to 13%. Even as attrition remained high, these IT companies have not accelerated their hiring as much. Infosys hired 10,000 employees in Q2, while TCS hired 9,840 employees. HCL Tech added 8,359 employees, while Wipro added only 600 employees in the second quarter. Industry experts attribute the drop in employee addition to recessionary concerns across the US and European regions, the two key markets for the Indian IT sector. To take this forward, I'm now joined by Ramani Dathi, CFO at TeamLease Services, and DD Mishra, Senior Director Analyst at Gartner. Ramani, if I can begin with you, we have seen a decline in headcount, especially in the hiring for entry-level jobs. Is this trend likely to continue in the coming quarters?
At least for one more quarter, it looks like so, Parikshit. And we believe maybe from mid of January, the hiring should pick up because many of these IT companies have bagged new orders, like how they have reported in the last quarter. So we are hoping that maybe from Jan, Feb onwards, the hiring can pick up. But it may not be at the same level as it was in last 2 years during COVID years. So it may be at a slightly lower level compared to last 2 years.
Right. Mr. Mishra, coming back to you, by when do you think we will start seeing an attrition level of 12 to 13%, which was pre-pandemic? Currently, we're looking at attrition rates between 21 to 28%. By when do you think this can improve, this number can come down?
So I will agree with Ramani that, in future, it is going to come down, but it may take a quarter or 6 months or more to drop to that, not to exactly to that level, but gradually it will drop. And at this point in time, actually, what we have seen that in the last several quarters, it continues to rise. Even TCS, you talked about their attrition rates was much better than compared to others, but they have also, gone beyond 20% attrition. So that is a bit of a surprise for us that it continues to grow at this point in time. But it cannot continue forever. And there are, the demands which are getting now fulfilled, and the supply and demand gap will significantly come down from next year onwards. And this will lead to some sort of a stabilization in terms of this particular challenge which we are having from an attrition perspective.
Right. What factors will decide the quantum of hiring, the number of freshers that will be added, Ramani?
Yes. So it depends on the nature of the projects that these companies are bagging. So whether it requires high-end niche skill set, experienced people, or for regular projects, mostly they use the entry-level employees. So for the last 2-3 quarters, we are not seeing any large demand in the entry-level segment, but the mid and senior level, we are seeing good amount of demand across all the IT services, products, and captive companies. And as I said earlier, we believe the fresher hiring will again pick up maybe from 3 to 6 months from now.
Right. What about contract hiring? According to some reports, contract hiring dropped 20% in Q1 FY23. Do you think, Ramani, this will also be dependent on the kind of projects these big 4 IT firms and other IT firms get in India?
Absolutely. So contract hiring typically happens at mid and senior level, not at entry staffing level. So there we have seen some sort of drop compared to last year. So again, compared to pre-COVID levels, the contract staffing is still growing. And more importantly, the non-IT companies, so there the IT hiring is also picking up on contract model. So whereas IT companies have slowed down, the non-IT companies hiring IT professionals for their in-house tech projects and other digital initiatives, that's been picking up. So overall, over the last 1-2 quarters, we are seeing the contract staffing to come down relative to last 1-2 years. But we believe that this trend would again go back to, the regular levels in the next 1-2 quarters time frame.
Right. Talking about the possibility of a recession, and this is something that has been examined by Gartner, DD Mishra, in their recent report. If not a recession, but a continued slowdown in some of the major economies like US, Europe, China, how is that going to affect the IT sector, especially hiring across different levels?
Would like to dissociate the hiring and the recession at this point in time. And recession actually has not shown that kind of a significant impact on the IT services as such. And we do attend a lot of client inquiries over the years. And none of the client actually have came back and told us that they are concerned about the recession and that may slow down their IT spend at this point in time. So we don't see much of impact of that. There can be marginal impact on IT sector because of this, because there are people who are ready to spend more when there are such challenges. And we have seen this during the COVID period also. We thought that it may impact the IT services spending growth. But having said so, what we realized that it did not impact much. In fact, it became kind of opportunity for many providers as well as in customers to actually drive a lot of digitalization, and that led to another problem of attrition at this point. So we have also surveyed, and we are at this point, we are surveying the end customer from a sourcing perspective, and seems that they don't appear to be overly concerned, and maybe that it may create newer demands for optimization and generate more efficiencies and more digitalization on top of what has been done. So from that perspective, we see that it could well be an opportunity as well. And I don't see that customers are concerned about it. They are not talking to us on that particular subject and not showing any kind of concern. Yes, from a spending perspective, we see that IT services spending growth is going to be a little bit slow in 22 and 23, but 24, 25, and 26 are going to be good year in terms of the current forecast which we have at this point in time.
Right. Let me also speak about onboarding delays. Ramani, if I were to ask you, we have been reading about onboarding delays for a few months now, and recent reports suggest that there are onboarding delays stretching beyond 6 months in some cases. What is the extent of the problem currently, according to you?
It's largely on account of their margin pressures, internal margin pressures, because over the last 2 years, we have seen substantial inflation in IT salaries and almost like 20-25% year on year. And that has impacted their margins. So right now, all the IT companies are focusing more on optimization of their existing resources, increasing their people productivity before they onboard the new employees. So that trend we have seen across all IT services companies. Products and captives, these delays are not much, maybe 2-3 months here and there. But IT services, yes. So we are seeing this trend of delayed onboarding where offer letters are already issued and confirmed.
Right. When it comes to wage patterns and paychecks for entry-level employees and also bonuses for existing employees, permanent ones, what are the patterns that we are seeing, DD Mishra?
So I agree with Ramani that IT companies are trying to optimize, and maybe that they are not seeing that the demand which they are expecting in 2021 are going to come in the same way. So there are multiple factors. But having said so, at this point in time, it depends on the skill set. And if the skill set is towards the niche skills which are in high demand, then in that case, the better appreciation of wage can be, explored by the freshers. But having said so, this depends on how this demand is going to unfold over a period. So already the providers are paying a lot in terms of their wage, and they have tried to accommodate all the cost right now. And going further, this may become a bit challenging for most of the providers to pay an extra money to their the freshers. So from that perspective, I don't see that much of that the wage appreciation is possible at this point in time. But it all depends how the market unfolds and how we react to the changes which are happening in the market. So, but having said so, there's a less opportunity, I would say, at this point in time to give the higher wages to the freshers because they have a different expectation of having the experience. They have a different expectation around playing with the technology, which can help them to actually get better opportunities at some point. So from that perspective, I would say that expectation of having higher wage will not be correct at this point in time. But having said so, the opportunities will definitely be available for the freshers as the demand grows.
Okay, Ramani, my final question to you. So if I were to ask you, how would FY23 finish when it comes to IT hirings? What numbers could you possibly share with us if we compare it to FY22?
As of now, to be very honest, we have no visibility for the next 2 quarters. Clearly, Q3 seemed to be a very slow quarter because even going by the past track record, November and December, typically the hirings in IT are very less. And we don't have any large pipeline of hirings for next 2 to 3 months. So we are really hoping that Q4, again, it will pick up. But again, having said that, if I can put on any number in terms of growth or in terms of overall percentage, we don't have any visibility at this point in time. And also, just to add on to the previous question, on the variable payment to the IT employees, again, this is an extension of maybe the margin pressures that the IT companies are going through, since they cannot do any interim correction on the salaries. So to some extent, they are trying to kind of either delay or reduce the variable payout to the employees. So that's again something which we have noticed in some of the IT companies. But we believe that it's only just for a short span of couple of quarters, and it would soon settle down.
All right, Ramani Dathi, DD Mishra, thank you so much for joining us here on Newscentre, decoding the trends in hiring in the IT sector currently and what the next few months actually have in store. We're going to take a short break here on Newscentre, but don't go anywhere. We're going to get you a whole host of top news stories today. The government is likely to tax levies on windfall gains for domestically produced crude and diesel exports. Details on this exclusive report when we are back.